What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Hollow Creek Tales. It's your host, Jake, here to share another story from the shadowed corners of our world. How are you all doing tonight? I hope life is treating you well. Tonight, I've got a chilling one for you. A story of love, obsession, and dark folk magic. It's called The Stallion's Dance, and it was written by a user who goes by Wanderer. For those of you just joining us, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our weekly dives into the unknown. Alright, no more waiting, let's get into it. The Stallion's Dance. You've probably heard whispers of charms like it, old world folk magic, a love spell so potent it could break a person's mind. My story begins in the thick, humid heat of mid-July. Like most mornings, I was heading down to the creek to wash up. You see, my family wasn't exactly well off. We lived in a small, single-wide trailer on the edge of town, where the siding was more rust than paint. The electricity was spotty, running off a generator that could barely power 3 dim light bulbs. One for my room, one for the living area, and one for the kitchen. A proper bathroom was a luxury we couldn't afford. A light drizzle was still falling as I walked, a towel slung around my neck, and a small plastic bucket with my soap and toothbrush swinging from my hand. I made my way down the steps, a series of large flat river stones embedded in the muddy bank that everyone in our part of town used. Our little corner of West Virginia was still wild, with thick woods crowding right up to the water's edge. The creek itself was clear and shallow, and you could see minnows darting around your feet, tempting you to try and catch them. In the afternoons, you'd find people fishing from the banks or just hanging out. The women often came down to wash out tough stains from clothes on the big flat rocks before taking them to the laundromat. It was a snapshot of life on the fringes. As I was heading down, I crossed paths with the most beautiful girl in our county, Caroline Abernathy. Everyone just called her Caroline. She was the daughter of Old Man Abernathy, who owned the biggest construction company for 100 miles around. Her mom ran a popular boutique downtown. Simply put, Caroline's family was loaded, known throughout our town and the next one over. That morning, she had just finished washing her mud-splattered ATV. Like most girls in the summer, she wore cut-off denim shorts and a tank top, with a towel wrapped around her wet hair. Her long, tanned legs were flawless, and her neck was elegant and pale. If I were being honest, I'd watched her before, more than once. Sometimes I'd hide behind the thick trunk of an old oak tree, just to catch a glimpse of our town's princess. "Finished up, Caroline?" I asked, trying to sound casual. She glanced at me out of the corner of her eye, her lip curling into a sneer. I waited for a reply, but all I got was a sharp, disgusted sound. She spat on the ground right next to my foot. I just smiled, though it felt bitter. A real shame. A girl that beautiful with such ugly manners, I muttered under my breath. Apparently, she heard me. "What did you say? You think I have ugly manners?" "It's my mouth. I'll do what I want. Besides, I didn't spit on you, did I?" "No, you didn't spit on my face," I said, my voice low. "But you spat on my feelings." "Oh, poor baby," she mocked. "Trying to sweet-talk me? I've been beautiful my whole life, and you're not even on my radar." Her voice got louder, more arrogant. I bent down and squatted. With my index finger, I scooped up a little bit of the damp earth where her spit had landed. "This might be your spit," I said, looking up at her, "but to me, it smells sweeter than any perfume." I held up my finger, showing her the muddy smear. "You're disgusting! A total freak!" she gasped, her eyes wide with revulsion. "You think this is disgusting for you to see? Imagine how anyone else feels, but you're going to see for yourself, soon enough." "See what?" she cut in. I brought my finger to my lips, and slowly, deliberately, licked the dirt and saliva from it. Her jaw dropped. I could see the genuine shock and horror on her face. "This," I said quietly, "is the beginning of our story, Caroline. You'll never forget me now, because a part of you is now a part of me." "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" "You'll see," I said. Then I walked past her, down the stone steps, leaving her standing there, frozen. Nearly every evening, I visited Mr. Henderson's workshop. He was a local artist, a jack of all trades who could do anything with his hands. I'd always had a knack for drawing and sculpting, and I learned a lot from him making yard ornaments, small statues, even helping him with sets for the local community theater. Mr. Henderson always got cast as the villain in their plays, usually some kind of monster. He was short but stout, so they nicknamed him the Gnome King. His workshop wasn't far from the Abernathy's property, so I had to pass their sprawling house every time. It was the kind of place that looked like it belonged in a magazine, with a wrought iron fence, a perfectly manicured lawn, a 2-car garage, and a driveway that always had 2 shiny SUVs and 3 dirt bikes parked in it. I saw Caroline's parents on their porch swing, enjoying the evening air. My eyes searched for the arrogant girl, but she was nowhere in sight. I did, however, see her pink sneakers by the door. God, I was pathetic. Head over heels for a girl, and I'm staring at her shoes. So how did it happen? Why'd she spit at you? I told Mr. Henderson the whole story, from my clumsy greeting to her spitting on the ground. And what do you want to do about it? He asked, not looking up from the block of wood he was carving. Do you really love her? Want to marry her? I felt a flush of shame. It was absurd to admit I loved her. We were from different worlds. Oh no, not really. I want her to learn some humility, to have some basic decency and respect for people. What's so hard about saying hello? So you want her to apologize? He set down his carving knife. Listen, I was in your shoes once, humiliated by a rich, beautiful girl who had every boy in town chasing after her. I tried something, an old charm my grandfather taught me. It's simple enough. You could do it. He looked at me, gauging my reaction. I accepted his offer. He gave me an incantation, a little rhyming verse I had to believe in with all my heart. But before I could start the ritual, he said I had to steal something she had touched. A pen, a book, a piece of clothing, and I had to keep it on my person for 40 days straight. My mind raced. What could I possibly get from her? A pen or a book seemed impossible. That left only one option, her underwear. On Sunday morning, I was determined to do it. Before Caroline ever got to the creek, I was already there, hidden behind a large boulder downstream, pretending to fish. My eyes were glued to the stone path. Sure enough, she appeared a few minutes later with a basket full of muddy riding gear. She set the basket right on top of the boulder I was hiding behind. She started rummaging through it. Damn it, she muttered to her friends who were already washing their own things. I forgot the damn stain remover. Just use mine, Caroline, one of them offered. No way. I've got a ton of stuff. That little bottle won't be enough. So what are you gonna do? Drive all the way home? That's a pain. I guess I have to. Watch my stuff for a minute? She asked, and started back up the path. Her friends went back to their work, paying no attention to the basket on the boulder. Slowly, I stood up, pretending to reel in my fishing line. My eyes scanned the contents of the basket. Finally, I saw it. A pair of bright red lace panties. They were definitely hers. Her mother was a much larger woman. Quick as a flash, I snatched them. With my prize secured, I packed up my gear and left. Back in my trailer, I locked my bedroom door. I laid the red panties on my pillow and gently stroked the fabric, as if I were caressing her. My mind ran wild, imagining what it would be like to be with her. A filthy, desperate desire washed over me. I wanted to smell her, the intimate scent of a woman still clinging to the unwashed fabric. But it went further than that. Slowly, my tongue traced the lines of the lace. A strange pleasure shot through me, so intense that I licked them until they were damp with my own saliva. Don't try this at home, kids. This was performed by a professional idiot. Following Mr. Henderson's instructions, I began a 7-day fast. I could only eat after sundown, and on the first day, it was only 7 spoonfuls of plain white rice. No salt, no butter, nothing. Each subsequent day, the amount decreased by 1 spoonful, until on the 7th night, it was only a single spoonful. Every night at midnight, I had to chant the incantation while holding her underwear. Owner of this cloth, be one with me, as this cloth is now one with my body. I repeated the words over and over, visualizing Caroline's face, trying to conjure her image in front of me. Part of me felt foolish, doubting this kind of hocus pocus. But then, I'd think of Mr. Henderson's beautiful wife and convince myself that he must have won her over with this same magic. The final night was a full vigil. I couldn't eat, drink, or even sleep. I sat cross-legged on my floor like some B-movie warlock, my mouth murmuring the chant until my throat was raw and my head spun. My vision blurred. I don't know what happened next. All I knew was that sunlight was streaming through the cracks in my trailer's roof. I had fallen asleep. and according to Mr. Henderson, if you fall asleep, even for a second, the charm is broken. You have to start all over again. You have got to be kidding me. A few days later, on my way home from my construction job, I took a detour past the high school. I don't know why, I just had this overwhelming urge to see her. School had just let out, and I figured she'd be waiting for the bus with her friends. My hunch was right. There she was. For a moment, I thought maybe the charm had worked after all, seeping into her subconscious. I pulled my beat-up motorcycle over and, with a newfound confidence, offered her a ride home. She smiled, a dazzling, beautiful smile. For a second, my soul left my body. It worked. The charm actually worked. "Come on, let's go home," I said, my voice full of hope. Her eyes, which had been soft, hardened as they focused on me. "You want me to go home with you? On that thing? What do you think I am? A sack of potatoes?" "Get real." My heart sank. I had misunderstood. She wasn't smiling at me. She was smiling at the jock who had just pulled up next to my clunker in a massive, lifted pickup truck. My ritual had been a spectacular failure. Forget falling in love with me. She was even crueler than before. If I told Mr. Henderson, he'd just laugh at me. "I told you not to fall asleep. You failed. You have to do it again." No way. I was done. Maybe I doubted the charm too much. My heart and mind weren't in sync. Or maybe it was because I'd lied to Mr. Henderson, telling him I just wanted to teach her a lesson when, deep down, I was desperately in love with her. It was the afternoon of August 16th. Me and my two buddies, Chris and Matt, were at the base of Black Ridge Mountain. We were planning to hike through the night to reach the summit by dawn, just in time to see the sunrise on the 17th. We wanted to plant an American flag at the peak, a tradition for a lot of hikers around Independence Day. The year before, we'd even run into a famous folk singer, a real hero of ours, doing the same thing. It was a memory we'd never forget, and we were hoping for another memorable trip. Before starting the climb, we checked in at the ranger station at the trailhead, signed the log, and bought some extra water and snacks. We already had plenty of supplies, but you can never be too careful. After a short rest and waiting for the evening call to prayer to pass, we started our ascent. The weather was clear, and the moonlight filtered down through the dense canopy of leaves. To some people, hiking up a mountain is a waste of time. What's there to see? Trees? You're just tiring yourself out. But for us, it was more than that. It required physical fitness, mental toughness to deal with the weather, and the willingness to sleep on a bed of cold, dry leaves. And then there were the tricks your mind played on you. I remember one time, exhausted and dehydrated, I saw a pristine, white-tiled schoolhouse deep in the woods. I was so tempted to go inside to sleep on that clean, cool floor instead of the damp ground. But my rational mind kicked in. What would a school be doing in the middle of a national forest? It was a mirage, a trick conjured by the mountain's old spirits. The hike was a long one, 10 or 11 hours depending on your stamina. The higher we got, the slower our pace, the heavier our packs felt. We passed landmarks with names like Dead Man's Creek, Widow's Peak, and Horsegrave Flats. We were running on fumes, so we took a break for a few hours of sleep before pushing on through a slippery, moss-covered section called the Serpent's Spine. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, we made it past the last major landmarks, Babbling Brook and Stone Seat. It was only a little after 1 a.m. We were going to make it to the summit by 2:30. Easy. Only 2 more sections to go. Heaven's Gate and the Exile. We stopped to eat some instant noodles and bread. I remembered the old rule. If you have to pee, do it in a bottle. It's a taboo to just let go on the mountain. You have to be respectful. The exhaustion of the climb melted away, replaced by a profound sense of accomplishment. We were men, not whiners. We had stood on the peak of Black Ridge, over 3,000 feet above sea level. As we waited for the sun, we sat in the dark, swapping stories with other groups of hikers from different towns, all of us connected by a shared experience. In that moment, surrounded by the vastness of nature, you feel incredibly small, humbled in the grip of something much greater than yourself. The first hints of sunrise appeared on the eastern horizon, a deep, fiery red. The outlines of the distant reservoir and the ocean beyond began to emerge from the darkness. As the sun climbed higher, I noticed a lot of hikers were trying to find the rare mountain laurel flowers, a symbol of a true mountaineer. but my attention was drawn to a few people carefully making their way down into the crater of the dormant volcano. For a while, I just watched them. Then, I decided I wanted to go too. Dude, are you crazy? You want to go down there with the sulfur vents? You could pass out, and we'd have to carry you back, Chris warned. Yeah, man, a flower is a flower. It's not worth it, Matt added. Just once, I said. I want to see the crater up close. And with that, I started down the steep, rocky edge. My foot nearly slipped on loose gravel, and I just managed to grab onto what I thought was a thick, sturdy root, but it was a terrible mistake. The root was barely anchored in the soil. It couldn't hold my weight. It tore free, and I went tumbling down, fast. I screamed for help, but no one seemed to hear me over the wind. My body bounced off rocks, the world spinning into a dizzying blur. My head ached, and then everything went black. Welcome to my home, young man. An old woman was standing in front of me. My consciousness was slowly returning. The place was dark, but I could tell it was a cave. You fell from a great height. Luckily, I was here to catch you. What is your name, child? Jake, I said, trying to suppress the fear rising in my chest. Who are you? This woman couldn't be human. She was a ghost, a demon, a monster that preyed on lost hikers. Her hair was long, stringy, and silver. Her body was frail and withered by age. There was no way this old woman could have climbed the mountain by herself. They call me the Witch of Black Ridge, she said. The name echoed in my mind, a name from local legends my grandparents used to tell. The Witch of Black Ridge. How old are you? I asked. And why do you live here, all alone? I no longer count the years, she said, her voice raspy. I live here because there is nothing left for me in the world below. The man I loved is long gone. A deep sadness crossed her ancient features. I'm sorry, I said. I didn't mean to bring up painful memories. It is all right, young man. Would you like to stay here with me? Her words hit me like a bolt of lightning. The Witch of Black Ridge. Was this old crone in the cave really the legendary figure from the stories? How could she still be alive in the modern world? I stared at her frail, bent body, my mind reeling. Why do you stare at me so? Be careful. You might fall in love with me, she cackled, snapping me out of my trance. How could I fall in love with an old woman like you? I blurted out. Old, you say, she whispered. Look again. In an instant, the old woman vanished. In her place stood the most breathtakingly beautiful woman I'd ever seen. She wore a flowing white gown, like a bride's, and a small silver crown shaped like a serpent rested on her long, dark hair. I rubbed my eyes, convinced I was hallucinating. The wrinkled crone had transformed into a goddess whose beauty was beyond compare. Now then, she said, her voice like honey, will you stay with me? What man could refuse an offer to stay with a woman so beautiful? But she was still a witch, a supernatural being. You have no choice, she said, reading my thoughts. You cannot leave this place, and you will fall in love with me in an instant, for I possess a magic that no man can resist. A magic? A love spell, she confirmed. A thought struck me. Could you teach me? Could I learn this spell? How long would I have to stay here? I asked, my mind racing. What about my friends up there? They will not look for you, she said calmly. I have made them forget you were ever with them. As for you, young man, you may leave after 40 days of serving me. In return, I will grant you a gift, an ancient and powerful charm. It is called the Stallion's Dance. With it, you can conquer the hearts of 1,000 women in a single night. 1,000 women in a single night. Insane. The days that followed were a blur of passion and magic. The cave, which had seemed like a damp, dark hole, transformed into a magnificent palace, complete with a throne carved with golden serpents. Lavish meals appeared on a grand dining table, served on platters fit for a king. But what made me never want to leave was the witch. She was always stunning, a princess from a fairy tale. I was so lost in this fantasy that I almost forgot why I was there. I still hadn't asked her for the spell. One night, as we lay together, I finally worked up the courage. When will you give me the spell? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she pulled me close, her fingers tracing patterns on my back. Because I have grown fond of you, and because you have kept me company, the magic is already flowing into you. It merges with your blood, through our bodies becoming one. You You will possess the full power of the charm after 40 days have passed." "Really?" I asked, amazed. She nodded, then kissed me deeply. "Where did you learn such a powerful spell?" I asked between kisses. "Long ago, I had a lover," she began, her voice distant. "He was a powerful shaman. He was skilled not only in combat, but also in charms of the heart. Nearly every woman who laid eyes on him fell instantly in love. He was not a cruel man. He never abused his power, but I was mad for him. I wanted him all to myself, but he left, disappearing without a trace." She sighed, her eyes staring at the cave ceiling as if she could see through the rock to the stars beyond. "I searched for him to the ends of the earth. Eventually, I heard he was living in these mountains. I found him, and he welcomed me, but I knew he did not love me. He saw me only as a friend, a sister." My heart broke, and a dark thought took root in my mind. I decided to steal his book of spells, the book that contained the charm. "And you took it?" She nodded, then silenced me with another passionate kiss. Hearing that the magic would soon be mine, I gave myself over to her completely. She was incredible, beyond her beauty. Her skin smelled of night-blooming jasmine, a scent that drove my desire to a fever pitch. I served her every night, fulfilling her every wish, until she was satisfied. I counted the days. Soon, I would be free, and then I would use this power to break the pride of the beautiful girl back home. Caroline Abernathy, your time is coming. The 1001 nights of fantasy with the witch had to end. When I finally came to, it wasn't her holding me. It was my mother. Her eyes were red and swollen, fresh tears still wet on her cheeks. "Mom? Mom, why are you crying?" "Jake, you're awake!" She burst into tears again, hugging me so tightly I could barely breathe. "We've been looking for you everywhere. Chris and Matt reported you missing to the park rangers." I'm okay, Mom." I then told her everything, the fall, the cave, the witch of Black Ridge. "Oh, honey, stop hallucinating," she said gently. "The witch is just an old story, something I used to hear on the radio as a girl." "But Mom, she gave me this." I held out a small, ornate box, gold-plated and carved with interlocking serpents. My mother took it and opened it. Oh my God, her mouth fell open. The box was filled with antique gold jewelry. "So, you really met her?" "Yeah, Mom. I think she might have even been the one who brought me home. I don't know how. I just know I was in her palace 1 minute, and then I woke up here, in my bed, and saw you. I thought you were her. Well, what matters is that you're safe now. And listen to me, Jake. Don't you ever tell another soul about this. They'll think you've lost your mind." Something about me had changed. I felt lighter, more confident. The weight of the world seemed to have lifted from my shoulders. Everyone I met smiled at me, greeted me warmly. Every girl I passed gave me a flirtatious look. It was strange. The Stallion's dance was now a part of me, flowing through my veins. The witch had told me this would happen. "You can have anything you desire," she'd said, "but for the girl who broke your heart, you can make her kneel, or you can make her go mad." The spell was that powerful. Just by chanting the incantation at midnight, I could make the target think of me constantly, search for me relentlessly. Would I unleash this power on Caroline, the girl I secretly loved? I decided to wait, to be patient. I wanted to win her over, to have her love me without the influence of a spell. I didn't want a wife who was like a robot, obeying my every command without any real feeling. I wanted her heart and soul, not just her body. I thought about telling Mr. Henderson, but I didn't want him to feel like I'd one-upped him. When he asked me where I'd been, I lied. "I got separated from my group," I said. "Ended up hiking down the other side of the mountain with some guys from Charleston and crashed at their place for a few days. But your friends said you went down into the crater and never came back up." "Yeah, I had a hard time climbing back out," I lied again. "Oh, hey, how did your ritual go? Any luck?" I asked, changing the subject. I failed, Mr. Henderson. I couldn't stay awake. I fell asleep. Want to try again?" "Nah," I said. "Maybe Caroline and I just aren't meant to be." He took a long drag from his cigarette. "You're giving up?" I nodded. He sighed, blowing out a cloud of gray smoke. "I know a more powerful charm, you know, but the ritual is much harder." "No thanks, Mr. Henderson. I appreciate the offer. On my way home from his workshop, I passed Caroline's house. As luck would have it, she was sitting on her porch, scrolling on her phone. I decided to test my new power. I focused my thoughts, sending a silent command for her to look at me. Just like that, as if I had pulled a string, she lifted her head, and her eyes met mine. But then, I shut the power off. I wanted to see her as herself, to see if there was any real kindness in her. She looked at me for a half second, then her eyes went back to her phone. "Hey," I called out, trying to get her attention. She remained glued to her screen. "Too good to say hello?" She looked up, her eyes as sharp and cold as a hawk's. "What do you want? Why are you saying hey to me? Am I your girlfriend or something?" "I was hoping you could be," I said, remembering our first conversation by the creek. "In your dreams," she scoffed. "You're not my type. You think I'd ever date a broke loser like you?" The old anger flared up inside me. "You know, if I wanted to," I said, my voice dangerously quiet, "I could buy everything your father owns, including you." I had deliberately made her angry. Her personality hadn't changed one bit. She was still cruel, still loved to insult people. It was no wonder she didn't have any close friends in town. By now, thanks to Mr. Henderson's loose lips, half the town knew about my crush on her. He probably thought he was some great mystic for giving me a love charm, but I wasn't the same weak kid anymore. I was the conqueror. The night deepened, blanketing the town in silence, broken only by the chirping of crickets. I glanced at my phone. It was almost 1 a.m. Suddenly, a fierce wind kicked up, rattling the trees. A light rain began to fall. In the dim glow of the porch light, I saw a dark figure coming down the road. It was a stooped woman, leaning on a long staff. She shuffled toward me, and my heart skipped a beat. It was the crone, the witch of Black Ridge. "Good evening, sweet boy. Am I interrupting?" I shot to my feet to greet her. Whatever she was my mentor. "Witch, what are you doing here?" "I came because I heard the cry of your soul. You are troubled." Could she really hear my heartbeat from so far away? It didn't matter. She was powerful. "Besides," she added with a sly grin, "I've missed you, and I brought you something." She handed me a small cloth-wrapped bundle. "But my family will see you. No one will know I am here. They cannot see me, cannot hear me. To them, I am nothing." I led her inside my trailer. At my bedroom door, she pushed past me, eager. "You forgot," I said. "You're still old." She tapped her serpentine staff to her face, and in a blink, she was the young, beautiful maiden once more. She began to undress me, and then her. Her body was perfect, her breasts firm and youthful. Desire flared within me, hot and fast. The next morning, I went down to the creek with my fishing rod. I wasn't really hoping to catch fish. I was hoping to run into Caroline. It was a Sunday, and I knew the creek would be busy. As I was making my way down the stone steps, a girl carrying a laundry basket slipped and fell. I rushed to help her. It was Caroline. "Caroline, are you okay?" I reached out a hand to help her up. "Don't touch me. I can get up myself," she snapped, swatting my hand away. "Don't pretend you're some nice guy trying to help. I know it's just one of your pathetic tricks." That evening, around 5 p.m., I prepared 11 bowls of water into which I had placed 7 different kinds of wildflowers. I had to bathe in this floral water to cleanse my aura, to ensure the ritual would be successful. To be honest, I probably could have performed the Stallion's dance without it, but cleansing my body and soul would create a protective shield against any unforeseen consequences. At midnight, I went into my room and prepared for the ritual. I lit a single candle and placed it in front of a poster-sized photo of Caroline that I had printed out. I positioned the photo so that when I sat, my eyes were level with the point between her eyebrows. Then, I began to chant. "I call upon the Stallion's dance, not for another, but for Caroline Abernathy alone. Come with sorrow, come with love, come with desire. Let your spirit awaken. Once awakened, rise. Once risen, run to me like a wild horse. Laugh as if you see a joyful pony dancing before you." I repeated the incantation 3 times. As the last word left my lips, I heard the distinct sound of a horse neighing in the distance. I knew the spell was working. I could not sleep until dawn. "Jake, wake up." My mother's voice jolted me awake. Before I could even sit up, she threw open my bedroom door. She looked frantic. "It's Caroline! She's in her front yard, screaming your name. The whole neighborhood is out there watching her. Did you use that spell? You've driven that poor girl mad." "It's done, Mom," I said calmly. "It's her own fault. She humiliated me time and time again. I had to do this. I love her, but she had to pay the price for her pride and cruelty." By noon, the whole town knew. Caroline Abernathy had lost her mind, and everyone was whispering that I had put a hex on her. Later that day, as I sat on my front porch, I saw her stumbling down the street, laughing and crying, screaming my name. "Jake! Oh, Jake! Why did you leave me?" Her laughter and sobs mingled. Her clothes were dirty, her hair a tangled mess. She wasn't the arrogant princess from yesterday. She was a broken thing. I didn't move from my chair as she approached. "You're finally home, baby. I missed you so much." She threw her arms around me, hugging me so tight I couldn't breathe. A crowd of onlookers had gathered, whispering amongst themselves. Mr. Abernathy and Mr. Henderson pushed through the crowd. "Caroline, let's go home," her father pleaded. "You're making a scene." She ignored him, clinging to me. I let her, wanting everyone to see what she had brought upon herself. "No, I'm not going home with you. I'm going to marry Jake. We're getting married, right, Jake?" "Mr." Henderson looked at me, his eyes begging. "Jake, I'm asking you as your teacher. Please, release her from this spell. Have pity on her." "I'm sorry, Mr. Henderson," I said, my voice firm. "I can't lift the spell. There is only one cure. She has to marry me. That is the only way. If not, she will stay like this forever, or worse." Mr. Henderson looked at Mr. Abernathy, who looked utterly defeated. Finally, he nodded. "If you can make her normal again," he said, his voice hoarse, "you can marry her." It was a promise I intended to hold him to. Before nightfall, I summoned the witch. In a flash, the old crone was standing in my room. "What troubles you, sweet boy?" "I need your help," I said. "I need the girl I love to be sane again." "You wish to marry her?" "Yes, I do love her." "And you will forget me?" "I will forget the old crone," I said with a smile, "but I will always make time for the beautiful witch." The living room of the Abernathy house was filled with people. They all stared at me with a mixture of awe and fear, like I was some celebrity. "I heard he has the Stallion's dance," someone whispered. "That's why Caroline went crazy." I ignored them. I had one goal. The witch, now in her beautiful form but invisible to everyone else, stood beside me. In her room, Caroline sat on her bed, scratching at her scalp, making her tangled hair even worse. "Sir," I said to Mr. Abernathy, "can I trust you to keep your promise? If I cure her, you will let me marry her?" He nodded grimly. "You have my word." The witch instructed me to empty my mind. She placed a hand on my back, and I felt a strange energy flow through me. "Touch the girl's head," she commanded in my mind, "so I can find the source of this." I placed my palm on Caroline's forehead. "Answer my question truthfully," I said, and was shocked to hear my own voice come out as the raspy cackle of an old woman. Caroline's eyes stared at me with pure hatred. She pointed a finger at me. "I've hated him for a long time," she snarled. "Since we were in elementary school." He pulled my pants down in front of the whole class. I was so humiliated. Everyone laughed at me. I've never forgotten it. My pants? Then the memory hit me. We were playing hide and seek during a class picnic. I found her hiding behind a big oak tree. As a stupid kid's prank, I yanked her pants down to her ankles. She chased me, crying, before tripping and scraping her knee. "So that's why you've always hated me? Because of a stupid prank when we were kids?" My real voice had returned. "Well," I said softly, "after we're married, I promise I'll be pulling your pants down all the time." Caroline's expression softened. The hardness in her eyes melted away. She stood up and wrapped her arms around me in a warm, gentle embrace. "I'm sorry," she whispered into my chest. "I acted like I hated you to hide how I really felt. I was so jealous every time I saw you with Esty, Mr. Henderson's daughter. I was stunned. I never would have guessed that she loved me too. So, what was the point of the Stallion's dance after all?" And that's where the story ends. So what do you all think? Let me know down in the comments. A huge thank you to everyone who listened to the end, and a special thanks to the author, Wanderer, for letting us share this tale. I hope you're all staying safe and happy out there. My apologies for any misspoken words. This is your host Jake, signing off. Until next time, peace out and good night.